I'm already sweating. So what I'm really wondering is how much of the AC you can hear in the background because it's hot as balls in here today. For the Wednesday video, I'm going to talk about how this all kind of came to be because I think there's some confusion. Uh, I've been playing with cars pretty much my entire life. If it was an internal combustion engine, I was playing with it. Lawnmowers taken apart, weed eaters, you name it. I took everything apart as a kid. My parents hated it. My dad was a mechanic, so I had access to tools, but I would just take my toys, even when I was 2 or 3 years old, and just destroy them. They'd all be in pieces everywhere. um, of course, that progressed throughout the years. I started doing computer stuff at a pretty young age. I got involved in networking right around the time the internet was becoming a thing, and had a job doing that. I worked for a school district, learned all about networking, learned about wireless networking, and was kind of at the forefront of the internet. So I was running servers out of my house. I had a couple of websites going, and I was doing video stuff there, as well as partying, which is the same thing that's going on nowadays, just in a different context. I was kind of tired of that. Started designing stuff in my mind and couldn't really make it a reality. Started fab in my garage. Went back to school for design, and that turned into a whole 4 years of machining program. So I got some CNC machines, got into motorsports development, started building parts, which I still have some CNC machines here. Realized that machining stuff was kind of a pain in the ass, wasn't moving forward, the profit margins were low, and it just never really took off the way that I wanted to. But I learned a lot, still have the stuff to do it, and really got in more of an R&D role. Designed some really cool stuff, did very well, but it just became way too hectic. And that was that was in my late 20s. Way too hectic. I was working crazy hours, and it just was too stressful and took its toll on me. Went back to motorsports development. In the meantime, during this whole reawakening, telecommunications and computer stuff, networking found its way back in my life. We ran down a course and had some really good ideas, put some really cool stuff together, and didn't end up selling any of the product. It was really too ahead of its time, and the marketing wasn't there to get the product launched. So we steered that course and added a layer to that network, and that layer is actually what took off. So it's the voice layer to our network that took off. We have multiple layers. I design networks, do network administration, and high-end wireless stuff. So our core to that business really is hosted business phone systems. We move a ton of minutes. That's what we do. For that business, I do network design, network troubleshooting, things like that. I'll get a call from other installers, integrators to go troubleshoot their network, figure out what's wrong. I'm all over traveling, doing stuff with that. So in doing that, the recurring revenue from the phone stuff gave me a lot of extra time to develop and do other things, and I always wanted to get in this market, but it was kind of a pain in the ass. Opportunity presented itself. We ended up with this shop and ended up with a dyno, and kind of here we are. So I've taken a lot of those techniques that I've learned over the course of my life, and now I apply it to this market. This is all about everyone moving forward for me. This was just a hobby gone wild. I never expected this kind of support and this thing to take off this way. I've been very lucky that my wife supported me, for one. That's the office manager. And it's just let us really identify holes in the markets that we do stuff in and figure out how to fulfill those. So here we are in this market, and I've realized that there's definitely some holes and things are lacking. Customer service is always our priority. I do get sidetracked doing other stuff, but we maintain a level of customer service that I think doesn't really exist in many markets today. It's kind of sad. So we are now going to the next level in this deal, and of course we didn't want to develop an ECU. It's something I've been around, of course, like I said, computers and things of that nature. I did some logic controller programming for a number of years, and an ECU in a car is very similar. You have your inputs in, and you have a desired output out. It's that simple. You take all your sensors, and you command something on an output based on the inputs from those sensors. Of course, more expensive ECUs have more inputs, so you get a more controlled desired output. ECUs really are that simple. It's just a logic controller that happens in real time and processes all that information. More expensive ECUs, like I said, more inputs. They also have bigger processors, more logging, more features, things like that. But in this market, I see a lot of Mephi stuff. It doesn't really belong in its role now. If you were building 1,000 of the same thing over and over, it's great for that. You almost need a team of engineers to sit there in an engine dyno and tune that setup. That's not how it's used now. Now these setups are getting so radical that it's kind of time for a change. One of the problems with changing it is a lot of these cars are already wired, they have a Mephi harness, etc. That's kind of why we started down the road of developing our own platform that was a plug and play for a Mephi. AEM does have one. They have used their Infinity. They have a plug and play adapter harness, and I think that was more geared toward the marine market, and it's usually something you want to have on an engine dyno, which is one of the reasons why we're going that way. That's really the proper way to tune the stuff in this market as well, especially the higher horsepower things. We have a really nice chassis dyno, which I can go into a dyno video and explain, what you need in a dyno to tune properly, but you definitely have to have the right tool for the job. Having just a dyno that's an inertia dyno, that's a problem. That's not really the right way to do things. You want to load it, but in these high horsepower deals, it's a lot of power to put through the drive line. So that's kind of why you want to go to an engine dyno. Back to the ECU thing. We wanted to be able to pull these Mephis out of cars and put something in, whether it be an AEM or an adapter with another controller or something. We ended up just coming up with our own deal based on another controller, because that's what made the most sense for us. We have the CNC machines here. We can make a lot of the stuff. We have an engineer. The engineer puts it together, and we'll be testing shortly for that. And that's really for that market. The next step, if you have a newer build or you're going to more than 15 pounds of boost, which I like to limit Mephis at 13 just because there's no overhead for safety, is to go do a sequential setup. This is 2017. It's time to take stuff to the next level. These controllers have existed for a very long time. It's really time that they apply to this market, and not just because I want to sell you a controller. I want to sell you a harness and controller because of the safety features, and that's really what's lacking. A lot of this stuff is drive-by-wire now. It's a pain in the ass to go find a cable drive, throttle body, run a cable, and a pedal. Most of these cars, as you guys are building new ones, are realizing they're going to drive-by-wire. Same thing in the off-road market. There's going to be some durability testing going on. We've already been testing the pedals. We've already been looking at different pedals that are actually used in different sanctioning bodies and racing. We happen to have a lot of contacts with some really cool people that are forward thinkers, and we sit down around and we have conversations and we look at what's the next step and where we want to go. There was a conversation yesterday about the DI stuff, taking the LT, LS-based LT, the direct injected stuff, and applying that. And there's a company that has a controller for that. I had a conversation with them, and I think that's kind of the next step. Once we get the engine dyno, we'll start going down that road. But for now, it's really about getting you guys that are in a bind with these cars that are from California or 10 years old that have a Mephi in them, getting them on the right track, because there's less and less people that tune those. Everyone wants to sell you a controller. It's not really necessary in every one of these applications, so I'd love to just give you a plug-and-play deal. It also opens the market up for guys like anybody and other tuners to tune these, where the Mephi stuff is very, very specialized. You need a cable, you need the software. There's a few different people making the software, but it still leaves parameters on the table and stuff to be desired. So that's kind of why I've chosen to take that path. Ton of work, ton of effort. Hopefully it works out. That's kind of where we're going. What's going on with ECUs here. We're going to get our CNC machines fired up as soon as we can and just kind of get moving. We have a wiring guy that's probably going to be here a few days a week. We're setting up the other side of the shop, which is going to be more studio stuff, and still will be more geared toward wiring, get some of these cars in and out. That's always an issue, is having the wiring guy come in, finding a guy that's good and doing stuff to what I think is, acceptable, and that's the whole nother story in itself. But having someone come in here and do that frees me up to work on the development and actually do the tuning stuff, which is what I like doing. 90% of my day is spent doing other stuff, which I shouldn't really be doing, but I haven't found the people that can do that for me yet. So I have to keep one foot in front of the other and keep going. once I can get those people in place, then it opens up time for me to focus on tuning, which is really what I enjoy doing, developing the parts and the R&D stuff. If you guys have any more questions, always send me a message. But I wanted to give you guys a background of where I came from and kind of how this all came to be. And this was really accidental. This was never supposed to happen. This wasn't on the roadmap. It just exploded into something on another level, and we're definitely going to take and run with that whole thing. So that's that. This is the Wednesday video. Tomorrow is a viewer's choice tech video. I have two things that I can go with. They're both kind of ECU and tuning related. So I think that's what some of you guys want to see. So that's the direction we'll head, and we've already in the background been headed in that direction. So just know there's a lot of stuff in the pipe. It's stuff I wish I could tell you guys about, but you know, you can't let the cat out of the bag sometimes. At this point, I'm being watched by a lot of people. So good, bad, you know, it is what it is. So I have to be careful with what we're doing and make sure that we can introduce that stuff first and make sure that you guys are taken care of. That's really what it's all about, is making sure that everyone has a good time. That's the Make America Dunehoon hashtag that I keep putting. That's, I want everyone happy. I want everyone moving forward. If we can make a couple bucks doing this, great. But this isn't my mainstay. You know, we always, telecommunications and another couple companies are what I do. This is a hobby gone wild, but we want to make sure that everyone's taken care of. So, like I said, any questions, let me know. Like the video, subscribe, share it, do whatever you got to do. It is what it is. All right, guys. Later.